I was listening to news on my hometown radio station this morning, and suddenly a sound from the 1960s came into my mind. When I was a kid, the station used Mancini's March of the Cue Balls as a news sounder, but it wasn't long enough. The good part ran out too soon, but today you can fix that with digital editing. But while local stations were trying to sound big, the networks already had sounders, including NBC over the years. And most of the jingles paid homage to the NBC chimes. And during the years I worked at a CBS affiliate, I heard that network's jingle evolve. And during the 60s and 70s, the Mutual Broadcasting System had some of the brightest sounders out there. But the magic at Mutual was in its 25-minute nightly news wrap-up program.
The World Today is produced by Mutual News in New York, utilizing all major wire services, special Mutual overseas correspondents, and the news editors of more than 500 affiliated stations.
The theme ran nearly a minute and a half, and it was absolutely stunning. When I joined Mutual, the first thing I did was find a copy of that sounder. Too many stations cut out early, though, and missed the dramatic closing. In later years, ABC radio would have some great sounders. But for a long time it had one, with News at 55, a single newscast every hour. Here's a little bit of the last News at 55.
And this is the last time that familiar sound will be heard. This is the last radio newscast from New York on what we know as the ABC Radio Network. Beginning tomorrow morning, ABC will split into 4 new radio networks. There will be more affiliates and more newscasts. But that familiar sound has now retired. That's the latest news from ABC Radio. Don Baker, ABC, New York.
And when ABC split up to form 4 networks to feed news at various times around the hour, News at 55 was replaced with American Contemporary Radio.
This is news from American Contemporary Radio. I'm John Bohannon in New York.
And at 15 after the hour, ABC fed a newscast for light classical and classical music stations.
Here's news from American FM Radio. Russia wants to talk, not fight, about differences with Communist China over their border area along the Ussuri River.
But within months, the FM network dropped its jingle in favor of a cold open. Too many stations said the jingle was in a different key than the last song it was playing. On the half hour came American Entertainment Network news.
Here's the latest worldwide news from the American Entertainment Network. Stan Martin in New York reporting.
But ABC's best new news sounder was used at the top of the hour for a 10-minute long newscast from American Information Radio.
News of the hour on the hour from American Information Radio. This is Bob Walker from New York.
One of the most memorable information newscasts was done by a young man who started his radio career right here in my hometown, went to Detroit, and then to ABC.
News of the hour on the hour from American Information Radio. This is Dan Streeter, and at this hour, Groucho has joined brothers Gummo, Harpo, and Chico in death.
Shortly after ABC split off into 4 networks, NBC retaliated, making 2 network services available at the top and bottom of the hour, and a new network, news and information service, that filled the other 50 minutes of each hour.
This is your news and information service, and I'm Alan Walden.
The sad thing was NBC underestimated how much that much news every day, anchored by union announcers, would cost. News and information lasted 2 years. And even if you only have Henry Mancini to lead it off, news is news. Even if it's done by Paul Harvey from the North Pole on Christmas Eve.
Santa, who is now headed your way, had this to say: Merry Christmas to all, and to all, good night. From the North Pole, we return you now to your regularly scheduled programs.
Merry Christmas from the ABC Radio Network.
Thanks for going along. I'm Dennis Daly.